Welcome to the Dave Whitty Show. I'm your host, Dave Whitty. Welcome to episode 16, folks. Thanks again for tuning in. Thanks to all my guests so far, and big thanks to Greg Bruce for coming on last week. Had a great chat about his career and everything he's been up to, and really enjoyed having that conversation. Got another great episode coming up. Got country music singer Justin Fancy on this week. We had a great chat about everything he's been up to over the pandemic, and releasing a record during the pandemic, and upcoming shows, and all the fun stuff, writing, recording, all those cool processes that come with putting out a record. So make sure you do stick around for a great episode with Justin. Really enjoyed having that chat as well. I hope everybody's had a good week. I had a great May 2-4. Spent the weekend up to the cabin, just relaxing. Came back Sunday for my gig at Greensleeves. It was a busy night downtown, as I kind of suspected. It was a pretty miserable day out Monday. So, a lot of people probably came back in if they were around the bay or up to the cabin or whatever. So I did the same thing. Came back Sunday, played Greensleeves. It was a great night, and just had a relaxing night after. And Monday, I just took it easy, and I actually went live for an hour or so on Facebook, and played some songs for folks. If anybody was tuning in, thanks so much for that. And just had a bit of fun. I was just sitting around kind of bored and really wanted to play some songs. Had the little itch for it. Got another great week of music coming up. Thursday night, I'm back at Golf Shots in Mount Pearl, 8 to 11. Come on in if you're looking to, hit some balls or just check out some live music. Got some great drink specials on, and, always a great spot to watch some sports. Friday and Saturday night, I'm back with the Donnies, which is my new folk band. We're back at O'Reilly's this weekend, 10:30 start. Looking forward to a great weekend at O'Reilly's, no doubt. It's always a fun venue to play, and always a great crowd. Our guitar player Alex Cull is he's off working. He's off on the boats, so he'll be missing in action this weekend. We have Mr. Zach Nash filling in this weekend, so looking forward to sharing the stage with Zach and Robert. And if you're looking for something a little earlier, I'll be at Shamrock City on Friday evening, just before the Donnie set 6 to 9 solo. So maybe come on out and check out some tunes. And of course, Sunday I'm back at Greensleeves, of course, 7 or 6:30. Sorry. So lots of great music. I mean, there's tons of music in the city happening this weekend, and the weather's starting to turn, so it's some summer vibes going on. Really happy about that. I got to say, I mean, a little snow on Monday, but the weekend was just absolutely fantastic here in St. John's. Big cluster on the go, COVID on the go out in Central. I mean, heartbreaking to hear. I mean, we've all been through this now, and I think everybody's just so sick and tired of this. Everyone just wants it to be over. So, really unfortunate to see that happen out in Central. A lot of lockdowns on the go, in a big radius of places. So, wishing the best for all the folks out in Central, and hopefully it's just a quick process, and they can nip it in the bud and kind of, get that under control and just try to figure it out quickly so everybody's not locked down too much. I mean, the lockdowns are hard enough, especially in the middle of the summer. I mean, that's no fun for nobody. Nobody wants to be locked down for that. A lot of great sports on the go. I mean, this weekend was incredible. I loved the NHL playoffs have just been fantastic so far, guys. If you've been watching it all, I mean, a lot of exciting games. Tons of overtime action. A 4-0 sweep by the Jets of the Oilers. Completely shocking. I could not believe it. I mean, I can't believe that the Oilers didn't get at least a game on the Jets. I mean, with the Oilers being the heavy favorites there, I had thought anyways. But it all comes down to goaltending. I mean, Connor Hellebuyck had a hell of a series, and Mike Smith not so much. And the Jets certainly figured out how to shut down Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. So, I mean, just incredible to see that. Boston's rolling right now. They're an absolute wagon. I mean, you always got to fear the Bees in the playoffs. They're playoff built. They know how to win in the playoffs. Colorado are looking incredible right now. The Pittsburgh Islanders series has been pretty good as well. Lots of great hockey going on there. Vegas, Minnesota, Carolina, Nashville, and of course the Leafs and Habs, which is what a great story. I mean, they haven't played since 79 in a playoff series. And if you're from Newfoundland, I mean, the rivalry between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Montreal Canadiens is insane. I mean, there's a ton of Leafs fans here. and a ton of Habs fans here. So it's always great to see those two teams match up, let alone in the playoffs. I mean, I've never seen it in my life, and the majority of my friends have not seen it either. So just a fun series. I mean, both teams are playing great right now. Could have gone either way. The goaltending's been fantastic both sides. Carey Price has been Carey Price, and Jack Campbell has he's played the role we need him to play. So looking forward to another fun game. I'm recording here on Tuesday. Last night on Monday night, Leafs won, obviously took a 2-1 lead, and looking forward to another great game tonight. Interesting that it's a back-to-back, but it seems that the NHL is probably just trying to catch up on the rest of the series, so it all kind of goes in hand. Been watching quite a bit of baseball as well lately, man. The Jays are a fun team to watch. A lot of really great young players, a lot of good hitters. Pitching's been okay. It's funny with baseball though, because every week it changes. I mean, if I was talking about the Jays last week, I would have said how hot the Jays are and their winning streak, and I think they've lost 6 in a row right now. So the Jays got a few things to figure out. I don't have a whole lot of confidence in Charlie Montoya as a pitcher, or sorry, as a manager. He makes some interesting decisions, not some of my favorites, but I mean it's early in the season, and of course the baseball season is a long one, so you kind of got to hold tight and hope for the best in that one, and hope that they can get it all together and string a few wins together. PGA Championship the weekend was incredible. It was so fun to see Phil Mickelson pull that down, the oldest winner in PGA history to win a major. And Phil's such a lovable dude. He's such a crazy character. He's always making jokes, and he's really involved with the fans, and he's on social media, and it's hard not to root for this guy. So that was a lot of fun to watch. He and on a tough course, a really tough course there in South Carolina. I mean, long course. It's not easy to knock in birdies there. And actually, speaking of golf, I was out golfing we went out Friday out to Pitcher's Pond, little 9-hole out there in Whiteway. Lovely little course. I mean, listen, you're not getting a better bang for your buck than Pitcher's Pond Golf Course in St. John, or on the Avalon. Sorry, it's only a 9-hole, but it's a long 9-hole, so you feel like you're not out there. You're out there for a while. It's not a quick round. $20 with a cart. I mean, you cannot go wrong with this, and it's pretty close to my cabin, so we always try to get out for a couple rounds when we're out there. And it was a lovely day. I mean, Friday was beautiful. It was 18, 19 degrees, ideal conditions for a round of golf. A little windy, but I mean, you can never get rid of the wind here in Newfoundland, that's for sure. Yeah, that's pretty much it. What's been going on with me, I've been dialed in watching a bit of sports, and had a bit of a relaxing weekend. Me and my brother and Tom, we put together a bar at a weekend at the cabin, somewhere else for us to lean our elbows on when we're watching some sports and stuff like that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Don't got a whole lot coming down the books here now, right? Just for this weekend, got the Donnie show. And if you are looking to come check us out, obviously come to O'Reilly's. And if you want to follow us on social media, you can do it. We're the Donnies NL. So on Instagram, Facebook. We got a new single that's about to be released to streaming platforms in the next couple of weeks. So, keep an eye out for that, guys. It's a great song. I wrote it, and the boys helped me with the bridge and the arrangements of the song, and obviously we recorded it with Robert. He did a great job on the recording of it, and just really looking forward to getting that in some ears. And speaking of getting in your ears, I'm going to flip it over to an interview with Justin Fancy, who's, I've known Justin for forever. He's been around playing music, just as long as I have, if not longer. And, we've always beaten around in the same kind of musical scene. And, he kind of took a stab at it this year and put out his own record after kind of beating around the cover scene here in St. John's for a number of years, which, becomes it's a slog. I mean, it's a grind. There's no doubt about that. And, he kind of seen it as an opportunity to finally release something on his own, and he's doing great with it. I got to say, and he's all over the radio, and he's got a big show coming up. But I'll let Justin tell you about that. So make sure you stick around for a great interview with Justin Fancy. And I'd like to welcome Justin Fancy to the podcast. How you doing, Justin, man? Thanks for coming on today.
I'm great, buddy. I feel like a celebrity, Dave Whitty. I'm on your show, man. I've been hearing a lot lately. It's pretty cool. Obviously excited to be here. Yeah, really excited to be here, man.
Right on, man. Well, yeah. Well, thanks for taking the time today. I know you're a busy man. You got lots on the go, and really appreciate you, just taking a little bit out of your day to come on and have a chat with me, because I like to promote everything local, and you know how I do. But for the folks listening at home, Justin, who may not know who you are, can you just introduce yourself a little bit and a little bit about what you do and who you are?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Canadian country singer from Conception Bay, South, about 15 minutes outside of St. John's. Yeah, I've been singing and playing for as you know a pretty long time, about 15 years now, and I decided last year that I'd stop singing everybody else's songs and start to promote my own. So that's what I've done the last I'm almost a year and a half now. Dates back to last January when I started recording my first album.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I want to dig into that right away. I mean, yeah. Like you listen, in St. John's, there's people slug it out on this scene here, man. Like there's an interesting world for musicians here. Like you can go out and work 7 nights a week, sometimes twice a week, make pretty decent money. You can work a lot. You can play a lot of music, but it's a tough scene to crack if you're playing your own stuff. I mean, it's a different world altogether. You know what I mean? So I want to talk about, obviously you slugged it out on George Street, and we'll probably share a few stories about that in a little bit, but I want to talk about the first release. You put out the record in 2020, September 2020, Long Time Comin. Can you talk a little bit about that record? And, it's a long time coming. I'm assuming that's, the title kind of just stands on its own, right?
Yeah, I wanted kind of, Dave, I wanted to start off with an anthem song and an anthem album for me and my journey. And I wanted it to be sort of a statement song of here I am. And here's what I've done for the last 10, 15 years. And here's what I want to do going forward. So it was really, for me, it was a statement song to the Canadian industry. And it was extremely nerve wracking and risky at the time. I knew the material was good. I hooked up with Clint in Springdale. What a great guy and producer, 7 View Studios. And I hooked up with him. I knew I had the production. I didn't know I had the lyrics or the songs to fit radio. So I took that big risk. It was pretty downplayed for me because I already have a career. I work 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. So this for me was a risk that I was willing to take from an investment perspective. I knew I wanted to put out an album. How far it was going to go or what I was going to do with it, I had no clue. I didn't know. I wanted the song to be on the radio. I wanted one of my songs to be on the radio. It's every classic musician's dream, to be honest, when you start off and you start writing music and whatever else. So for me, that turned into 4 singles deep now, 4 music videos, and 4 top 80 songs in the country. So, I mean, it's stemmed off of that from the pipe dream to just a regular guy that's coming on the radio every 4 or 5 months with a new single. So, it was a big change for me. I spent years struggling, and this as much as anybody, struggling to kind of, play downtown and have a full-time job and an 8-year-old child, all in the midst of that. And over the years, obviously when she was younger, my daughter needed more attention and whatever else. And so I struggled with that a lot. I used to book gigs and kind of, I just couldn't end up doing it, playing the cover songs down on George Street 7 days a week. I had to transition from that to somebody who had an IT career, worked 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. And then kind of, I just take it back. One of the songs on my record is called Loving Man. And it references my dad and the influence that he had on me to tell me he was hard on me and he wanted me to go back and get an education. And then worry about the music stuff after. So that's the way that I've taken it. It's the way that, I struggle with it doing that transitioning from somebody who was used to doing what I love, used to being down on the street and knowing everybody down there. And, it's almost like a family down there, still is. But I've kind of moving away from that 7-day-a-week cover song kind of deal into a recording artist now. And I'm starting to understand what it's like to make money off the royalties for your own music and that revenue generation coming in. So it's definitely been a long time coming, man. Yeah,
no doubt. I wanted to ask you about a little bit of the writing process for this record. Was it some material you had previously written, like, kind of over the years, or did you kind of write this for this record, or, how did that kind of work out with the writing processes?
So yeah, the most of the songs were written current time during the recording process, which was really weird because I had 10 or so songs that I was going to choose that I'd written over the years. And I did my best writing. And again, you can probably appreciate this. You know, you get in the studio, you get a good sound going, good production. It motivates you to write more and oh yeah, I think we can get that sound, or I think we can get, it was just all going on in my head during the process. I started to hear the material coming back. Like once I got through Long Time Comin and into Think About You is more of a poppy country sounding song. So once I knew I could achieve that song, I just started writing and I got really inspired to write. Most of the songs talk about my previous relationship I was in, and just talking about emotion and breakups and all that kind of stuff. And, I felt it was fitting for a country music scene, especially across the country right now. And we were able to achieve that. But I think, the bulk of that writing came from definitely inspiration during the recording process of the first two songs. Because what we did was record one track at a time. So we'd completely finish one tune, move on to the next tune, completely finish that one. And it wasn't, we didn't do bed tracks for all the tunes and then go back and do the vocals for it all. So that was a different process for me, but I think the best. I got a track back today that we're working on, and Clint's, he sends me back a mix before the vocals even get put on the song. So he's got a pretty solid mix so that my vocal fits on the song. So when I go in studio, it's a recording artist's dream, because you basically have half the song done already, and it sounds like it's going to sound at the end result, minus a few mix changes or maybe steel guitar get added to the track or whatever else. But you've got a pretty full sound when you come back and you do your vocals. And to me, it worked extremely well for me during the recording process.
Yeah, no, that's definitely an interesting way to do it. Like, for folks probably at home who might not understand quite the in-depth recording process, like you mentioned, generally a lot of times you would probably go in and lay down 9 or 10 bed tracks, and then you're generally probably singing your main vocal tracks over unfinished songs. Essentially, it's might not be a polished acoustic, or the drums might be a little different, or like you say, you might not have those certain elements that are. So that's an interesting process to do that. I bet that made you feel a little bit stronger in presenting your vocal performance, because I feel like that's the way it would be, right?
Vocally, it just felt right. And I felt, I'm after laying down vocals, just with an acoustic rough scratch track just to get the vocals down. And then we go back and do the vocals again once we got more tracks done. But for me, my first thing that I hear, obviously I write the songs. What I'll do is I'll send them a rough track of me. I'll just take a video on my iPhone, send it to Clint, and I'll kind of just hum out songs or hum out licks or whatever, that I hear in my head that sound like, the tune or the end result. And Clint ends up coming back. We try a few things back and forth. But the bulk of this, obviously with the pandemic and everything else, was done electronically. I mean, we were sending mixes back and forth Facebook, man. It was an amazing experience, I got to say. And we were kind of forced into the fact that he would send that mix back first. I would go in and record the vocals, and then we'd go back. He'd mix the vocals in, add harmonies or whatever else, and add some more instrumentation. Then he'd come back and kind of, he'd get my approval on it, and I'd send it back and say, I need this fixed and whatever. So that process to me was a completely different experience altogether. But it inspired the hell out of me, man. Getting in there and just, the other thing about it is that you get this mix back without any vocals or anything on it. You can, I play it in the truck and scream to the top of my lungs just to practice my vocal on that song. So when I go into studio, I'm really comfortable. That's something I never had before either, right? I'm used to just going in studio and kind of, I'd practice at home or whatever on acoustic guitar, but
it's not the same.
It's not the same at all. And once you hear half the song coming back at you, it just sounds real. Then you're inspired when you sing at that point in time.
How many times have I been at home and if I'm learning a song or if I'm writing a song and, I'll be playing in a certain key and then I go try to perform it on stage and I'm like, this is not in the right key. I'm not singing this because I'm just singing it at home on a couch. It makes such a difference. You're singing it for yourself. You're not really forcing yourself. But then as soon as you put yourself in front of a microphone and maybe an audience who might be a little loud, it's a completely different game. You really have to figure that out. So, that's a really interesting way to do it for sure. I mean, you mentioned a little earlier, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned writing some of the songs about breakups and, kind of wearing your heart on the sleeve. Did you find that difficult to do that at first? I mean, to really try to put yourself out there, because I know that's a challenge that a lot of writers, songwriters have to face is really facing the realities, especially if songs are really coming from the heart, if they really mean something, Did you find that difficult to do that at first?
I did, and one song kind of stemmed off the others. But I mean, again, I got feedback on. I think the first song that we released that was really emotional. That was "Think About You," and I got feedback from other people that inspired me. And they wrote me back and said, "You know what, man, I can relate to that." Or anybody would message me on a random day and just be like, I can relate to that song. I can really relate to that song because it's emotional. It talks about, it opens up your feelings and whatever else. That was extremely hard for me to do and accept. And then once I got over the hump of the first one, I just felt more inspired and I started writing again. And it was just, for me, it was so wild how it ended up working out. All these tunes, I mean, I wrote as I went here, and I, obviously Clint helped me out with my latest tune, "Makes Me Wanna." He actually wrote the bridge on that song because I was stuck on that for a couple of weeks, but I felt it was a strong song, and so I continued it. But I mean, man, the writing process for me, I talk about, I have a song on the record called "Your Memory," and it talks about how I'm never going to write a song about a truck or a dirt road or beers or anything of that sort. I write from the heart, write from emotion, always have. And I don't think, I've got a song coming out now that another friend of mine wrote, and I kind of polished it off and finished it. And this song talks about kegs, which was a weird thing for me. I didn't really want to get into that stuff, but I really like the song, and it's kind of a summertime feeling song. So obviously, the end goal here is to attract radio with what you do, and a lot of the songs on the radio today are based upon trucks and dirt roads and whatever else, country music. A lot of it sounds the same to me on the radio these days. And, I'm just a huge fan of like 90s country and, country music that goes back, George Jones, Waylon Jennings, the older country as well. But I grew up in 90s country, and, and as you know, Dave, I've sang just about every genre growing up. I was, a few years back, I was in a trad band that, we recorded. I wrote one of the songs off that record, and all the rest were cover songs. So that to me was the first kind of, test for radio, local radio anyway. And it got played on the radio, and I was like, you know what? Well, maybe this tune, maybe my songwriting can make it somewhere else. Maybe it can be bigger one of these days. And, you just ride off momentum when Dave, you got enough, you have to have enough confidence to put that song out there. Once it gets out there, then you start riding off the yes and the no's, because there's a lot of no's too. And that's something that the average person doesn't really understand about the business. I mean, you're pitching this song to a radio station. There's 85, 86 country stations across the country. You're going to get a lot of no's. You're going to get a lot of people that say, I don't really like this song. And you're going to get others that love the song. It's just, it's their perception and the way that it all works. I could talk days about that stuff.
One of the things I've always kind of struggled with, and I'm sure you can relate with this, and is like you mentioned, like writing songs that, are probably about, a certain someone or a certain situation you've been in. And do you find that it's more difficult to do that being from a small town?
Oh my God. Yes. Oh my God.
That is so tough. You know what I mean? Because you're looking at people and you're listening to people who are trying to just pick apart every word to this song, trying to figure out what this is exactly about. And it's not necessarily always exactly about something, you know what I mean? Yeah. It has a theme, a running theme, but it's not necessarily always exactly about one certain thing. I've always found that very difficult, and trying to, and sometimes it's changed the way I wrote, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, damn it,
you've got a very, very creative way of doing that in your lyrics. And it kind of makes, I'll say this, Dave. There's not many around that can write a catchy tune and have you sit there and kind of divulge into the lyrics and have to kind of dissect it in order to figure out the tune. You've done that with a few of your tunes. And there's something to be said about that. But yes, small town lyrically, It's extremely difficult. I've had so many people reach out to me. Who's this about? Who's this about? So then I have a current girlfriend that I love very much, and I'm promoting songs that I wrote about my ex. So picture that. And, she's hearing those songs in her head every single day. And, I'm on podcasts talking about my music, and this latest song makes me wanna, and it was written about her. So I'm trying to promote that across the country, and she's sitting in the next room being like, holy shit, do I have to continue to do it? Do I have to continue listening to that? And she was one of my biggest supporters when I was great friends with her.
Yeah.
And then I put out this album, and it's still going. I'm still dragging this out because, as far as I know, the tunes are good and the production is good. And I'm continuing to ride this album because you need to take as much advantage of these tunes that you can, because it's not cheap. It's not cheap to go in and record an album. It's not cheap to have a radio tracker. It's not cheap to have a publicist promote this song right across the country. I can't just say, well, no, I can't do it anymore because I have, because I've moved on from her. The lyrics and the music have to stand their length of time if you want to be successful in this racket.
Yeah, no, you nailed it there. Exactly. And I appreciate you being candid about that. I mean, that's no, it's awesome, man. It really, really is. I mean, that's what people want to hear. They want to know that. And I'm sure that's questions that not only with you, but with everybody. I mean, that's what people want to know. They want to hear that stuff. And I mean, you mentioned myself and in the songwriting. While I don't want to talk about myself because this is not a podcast about myself, it's about the other person. I appreciate you saying that. And that's a nice compliment, but it's been a challenge of mine as well. You know what I mean? I'm trying to methodically put these lyrics together that not one person can quite figure out. I've always found it challenging, honestly. And you've done a much better job of being able to wear your heart on your sleeve. Because I've just struggled with it so much. I'm like, fuck the boys from Mount Pearl. They're gonna grill me over this one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh no, I hear you, man. I hear, again, it all comes down to confidence for me. I've had a few mentors tell me that, there's a bigger picture. There's a bigger picture here. That's what you have to realize that, right? There's a bigger picture that it's not just a small town. And that's the problem with small towns, is that, people in small towns get stuck to small towns. So if you're going to write for a small town, sure, do it. But if you want to be on a bigger picture, you got to reach to a bigger picture, in my opinion, anyways. Oh, I think it's legitimately harder for someone living in St. John's that's been on a pub scene and everybody knows who you are, writing songs, than someone who's coming straight out of the gate, 18, 19 years old in Toronto, and one of the biggest recording studios, out there, and they're putting this music out and they're fresh and they're brand new. And Toronto is just big, man. I mean, you're just in a bigger picture, and people don't relate to it as much as they would in a small town setting. They can relate to it. They will relate to the music, but they won't relate personally to it. That's where I'm trying to go with this. I mean, there's been so much chat about, how did you write this record? How did you, was it through experience? And yes, everything that I wrote, every lyric that's on that album is written through experience. It wasn't something I just drummed up in my head and wrote. And I think, Andrew LaDrew said it best. And I keep repeating this quote, but he said to me one time, he said, dude, he said, you'll never write a good song unless, you experience heartbreak. And you go through these bad breakups and whatever else. You start going through this, you will write a good song.
Oh, nothing better for a songwriter than a good breakup. It puts the pen to the pad for sure. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. So Justin, with this last record, I know you won a couple awards, a couple Music and L awards, Country Artist of the Year, Rising Star of the Year. Pretty neat, man. Can you talk about, what Music and L has meant to you and the stuff that it's brought for you, throughout the last year? Probably something that you weren't really accustomed with, in years past.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. I mean, again, it's been a reset kind of year for me, and to get that recognition. I've always looked at Music and L Awards as something, one of these days I'll get to it. One of these days I'll be nominated. So we got nominated, the Eastern Passage record got nominated for Celtic Traditional Album of the Year back in 2013, I think. So that was my real first taste of that. And I said, you know what? Well, maybe we start writing our own music, whatever. I kind of got motivated there. And I mean, just to get the recognition, I've been working damn hard at this stuff for the last, 3 or 4 years. I've been really planning something that not a lot of people knew about. And I did a lot of research. I spoke to a lot of industry people. And I kind of got a feel of, what's it going to take for me to put out a song and start getting some recognition for this stuff. How do you do that? How do you create the wave of people starting to come to you? Well, first it starts with a great song. So you got to have a great song. You got to have a good song. That's the number one thing in this world that you need to have for people to start following and starting the wave. Once you have the song, then you start getting into, what's your social media like? What's your Spotify streams like? Well, you have to have popularity to get Spotify streams. You have to get played on the radio to get these kind of streams and get, momentum like this. So I started figuring all that out to get recognized. I know a good buddy of mine, Jason Benoit. He's been in the country scene for a very long time. He was nominated for Country Artist of the Year. I didn't think I had a chance. Not a chance. And I ended up winning that award. And I think it was on a Thursday night or a Friday night. I didn't think the awards were being broadcast till that Sunday. So it turns out that half the awards got announced on that Friday, and then Sunday, the other awards. So Caroline East called me on the Thursday, and she said, you won. I was like, what? Won what? I was just having a beer at the bar. And she had, said I won Country Artist of the Year. And it was just a moment of, I really can't explain how I felt at that moment, but it was relief and excitement at the same time, because it's a point in your life where, it's my first award. And it's an award that tells me that I'm doing something right. So I'm being recognized for my art, my own stuff. I'm writing my own music, getting it on the radio. And I'm being recognized for that. It's a very, very cool feeling, man. And obviously the 2 awards, the Rising Star of the Year. Again, I can't really put it into words. All I know is that it keeps me motivated and keeps me want to do more. It keeps me want to write more, and focus on my art. That's pretty much the best I can explain it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. An interesting thing I seen was you're up for Inspirational Album of the Year. Can you?
How many people have brought that up?
I mean, best kind, like right on. But how did that come about? And can you talk about that a little bit? Inspirational. I mean, you are inspiring, no doubt.
So we had. Myself and my publicist, she's living in Mexico, and she runs a publicity company out of Toronto. Paula Danilevich is her name, and she's been with me since day one, and she's been unbelievable. I can't say enough about her. So we get digging in these ECMA awards. Obviously, you need to apply for the awards before you get nominated. So we get digging in, and I think there was I'm not joking, Dave. I think we applied for 13 awards. And in that process, we came across this Inspirational Record of the Year. So Paula comes back and she's like, what's this inspirational? So I had them all drafted. And one of the awards was Inspirational Record of the Year. And I had to look up the criteria to the song. And it is that. It's supposed to be something that's inspiring to someone else, to motivate someone else to do the same kind of thing. That's the way it was. When I first looked at it, I thought it was kind of a religious kind of award. So I had long forgotten about that. So I'm looking at the awards and I'm intently looking at, Country Album of the Year, Country Artist of the Year, all this kind of stuff. And everything blows by and I didn't get anything there, which was fine. So the second round of awards come and it says Inspirational Record of the Year. And my name is on it. So I'm like, what is this? What is this? So same type reaction from everybody else right across the country, because I've been asked the question many a times. So I get back and I look at the criteria again. It says something completely different. It says something of a spiritual or religious kind of music or whatever else, and that was what the award was based upon. So I was like, okay, well, my songs aren't really religious, probably religious to me and emotional to me, but not religious or spiritual in any kind. So I know Dean Stairs. I've been in contact with him for the last couple of years, my music and whatever else. And Dean is the chair of ECMA. So I reached out to him and I said, Dean, there must be a mistake, because I think this, from reading the guidelines of the awards, the description around it doesn't really, adhere to my album or whatever else. It was kind of awkward to me because I didn't really know how to say it. I'm nominated for an ECMA, so I was just, it was exciting to me, but at the same time it was weird and awkward. So he wrote me back and he said, Justin, he said, if you want me to write you a letter, I can do so. I can definitely, do that. But this album, this nomination is based upon inspiration and motivation to others. So he says, you're telling a story in your first song that you wrote, Long Time Comin. It's taken years for you to be on the bar and pub scene, kind of, gigging it out and playing cover songs for all these years. And then you get into a recording artist state. So it's inspiring and motivating. So I had the official statement from ECMA. They actually wrote me a letter because, I kind of had to explain this to a lot of people across the country because they were kind of confused at, what kind of award this was. I remember Chris Ryan and Caroline East messaging me that day and was like, what the fuck? Like what kind of an award is that? Is that a religious thing or a spiritual thing or whatever else? But yeah, the best I can explain it is, I should have had it up here, but I got the letter and stuff there, but the best I can explain is based upon inspiration and motivation. And they changed that award last year. So I was looking at guidelines from, I think, like 2015, and that's what threw me for a loop. And I went back and they verified that for me. Right. But yeah, it's still a cool feeling, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you nailed it. You just explained it right. And I think that's in my opinion, I think that's probably a better way to go with that award. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
You can still include the spiritual albums, religious albums in that, but it's about more about being inspiring and trying to work and achieve what you want and trying to inspire others. I mean, that makes a whole lot of sense. Absolutely. You got a few videos out, and they all feature Big Brother Canada star Sam Pickle. Can you talk a little bit about Sam? And I know you guys are close friends, and obviously you featured her in your videos. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. So Long Time Comin obviously was a statement song. So I had my daughter in that one, and that was kind of, that was really, really special to me. And obviously Long Time Comin was more of a rocky country song. It was more of an upbeat, less emotional song. It was emotional to me still, but I mean, not from a relationship perspective or whatever else. So then we start getting into the emotions. So we mapped out basically the timelines around the tunes, and it was, it was based on sequence. So it was Think About You, Sure Beats a Good Time, and then Makes Me Wanna. So there's a story around that. But I wanted Sam obviously to be a part of three of those because they were linked in some way. So I didn't tell her she was going to be part of three videos. I told her she was going to be part of one in the beginning, and man, did she ever shine. It's crazy how good she is. And the local aspect of it too, Dave, is big for me. I want people involved here. Obviously I got Center City and, Stephen Green, Brad Tuck involved in the videos, and they're, as far as I'm concerned, they're doing world-class stuff right now. And I think, we motivated each other to get involved there heavily with Sam and create plots and storylines that went with the tunes. And I think, for a small team and what we did and what we were able to achieve, it's been unbelievable. But I mean, I grew up with Sam. I didn't really know she had that side in her until she, kind of got pretty popular with Big Brother and what she was able to do there. And it wasn't, and she talked about this before, but I mean, she was really natural on that show. She didn't really act on that show. And that's what I found she had so much ability to do, be natural. And that's something when I get in front of a camera, I'm getting better at it now. But I mean, when I first started, I'm uptight, I'm nervous, I'm everything under the sun. And Sam is just able to flow. And she got used to me being nervous at certain points, and she kind of kicked me out of it to get back into kind of a scenic, movie scene, we'll say, or whatever else. But she was really, really good at that. And Stephen commented many a times that she was so easy to work with, both on camera and both in the plotting stages, let's create this scene, or, she was really creative too when it came to that stuff, which is very cool. When you have your, childhood friend involved in some of this, and she's digging the tunes, she's listening to the tunes and divulging what they exactly mean and coming in prepared. There's nothing else better than seeing a team around you that love what I'm doing, for one, and two, having knowledge of the songs and the music and what I'm trying to achieve. I mean, it's just a great feeling all around.
One fun fact about you, Justin, that a lot of people probably don't know, maybe I'm sure some people do, but not everybody, is that you were in Canadian Idol in 2008. I mean, 2008 is a long time ago. Don't get me wrong, but obviously that probably give you some type of kick to play music, because I remember we had a conversation one time, and I think we were talking about this, but I kind of want you to express it for the listeners. But you were pretty much just kind of beating around the fire, you know what I mean, and house parties and stuff like that, and then you kind of got that kick, and then it pushed you to obviously present day. But just talk a little bit about that, and just explain it to people.
So that was the first real moment where I said, okay, well, there's something going on here, something that someone likes. And I'm on a reality TV show. Canadian Idol, to me, I'd never watched it. Never had any desire to watch any of these reality shows or get involved with anything. I was out in a shed party with the boys the night before. I think it was 10 of them there.
Shocking.
Yeah. And so we're on the radio, we got the cab party going, and it comes on, announcement comes on, Canadian Idol tryouts, starting 6:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. Everybody has to be at the Avalon Mall by 6 o'clock and get in a lineup, whatever. So this commercial comes on, and it's like 2 a.m. Everybody's feeling great. I got my voice gone from singing Waylon Jennings and George Jones all night. And they're looking at me, and they looked at me after the commercial, Justin, and I figured it was a joke. It was a joke to me. They were like, we'll give you $50 each if you get in a cab at 5:30, stay up, get in the cab at 5:30, and go out to the Avalon Mall tryout. So I was like, $50 each. So I was adding up in my head, and I was 21 at the time. So I was like, $500. I said, just for something to carry my guitar in the back of my head, go in for a joke, stinking like booze, and try out for Canadian Idol. So anyway, I did it. I got a cab out, and I tried out, and I made it past the first stage. And then I made it past the second stage. And then I made it past the third stage. These 3 stages were hopping trailer to trailer outside the Avalon Mall. So there was basically, camper trailers.
Glorified Thomas Amusements.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm trying out. And I made it pass. So 3 stages. Now I'm I'm one step away from getting a gold ticket to go to Toronto in the top 200 of Canadian Idol. So the auditions was 2 weeks away. So basically they gave me a list of songs that I was allowed to sing for TV, because they had it cleared for TV, whatever else. There was only a list. So it was like 500 songs or something like that I had to choose from. Luckily, I knew a lot of them just from jamming it. There was some CCR in there, Goo Goo Dolls, the Eagles, and, just some of that standard stuff, popular stuff. So I got together with my next door neighbor. My next door neighbor is a huge influence on me. He's a rocker. He's a big classic rock kind of guy. Knows a lot of music, knows a lot of knowledge around the music. So I kind of leaned on him to pick the songs, and we jammed them out for a couple of weeks. And I went there, ended up going. I was really, really nervous then, man. I had a huge crowd behind me. There was like 30 that showed up, which was a huge crowd to me. Just all the people that I grew up basically just jamming in shed parties and around campfires and whatever else. And, they had, that was a lot of support for me, for 30 people to show up at, I think it was at the Newfoundland Hotel at the time. And anyway, I went in there and I sang, I think it was Goo Goo Dolls Slide. And I sing that one, most every night I'm out jamming cover songs. 90s kind of music. So I enjoyed that stuff growing up. But anyway, I sang that one, and I ended up getting a gold ticket. I came out with the gold ticket, and I didn't get much camera time from that moment. At least I can't find it. But I remember Leanne Kane made it the same year. Jeremy Dix, Todd Scott. So they ended up forming. Mark Day was there too. We ended up forming a band. That's another story. But yeah, just to get that experience at a young age, and get to see the behind the scenes TV part, and the producers of the show and whatever else. There were some big names. I mean, I think Jake Gold was part of the show that year, and he had links to the Tragically Hip, and he started managing the Tragically Hip very early back. So these were big people, that had. A huge amount of influence on the music industry, not alone the TV side of things after, but just to get that experience and meet network with some of the, the greater people in Canadian country music was a very big eye opener to me. Obviously, when I came back, I just wanted to play everywhere. So I started, I started getting calls from a lot of the bars and pubs, and one of those pubs obviously was the Rob Roy, and I started playing the Rob Roy, and then that stemmed to every other bar on George Street, really.
Yeah, that's definitely how it happens.
Yeah.
Getting back into the music, Justin, what's it been like trying to promote this new record in the middle of a pandemic? I know you got the publicists and the radio pushers and stuff like that. Can you talk a little bit about how challenging that's been and how it's all kind of worked out?
Yeah. So two sides of it. Challenging because I can't really tour this album. I can't really get around and get, fans reacting to this in a live setting. That's been the most challenging for me. The most rewarding part of this pandemic, the only bright side that I have been able to see is that, there's a lot of music directors, a lot of industry professionals that are coming accustomed to these Zoom meetings, Teams meetings, online meetings or phone calls or whatever else, when normally you would have to actually show up at that radio station if you wanted to have a chat with a music director. So that's meant a lot to me. I've been able to connect with a lot of people across this country that I normally wouldn't, have to unless I travel up there and kind of knocked on their door. So that for me has been very good. Again, the only downside of this, and I think I've done a lot of this from my basement too, Dave, the promoting and the social media side of things or whatever else. If anything, it's helped me because a lot more people are online these days, scrolling through social media and all that kind of stuff. So, and listening to a lot more music. Spotify came out with something there last month that people are listening to music more than ever before. So there's more people accustomed to kind of discovering who I am and whatever else. But there's methods to that, all of that madness. I mean, you can't just put a track on Spotify and expect to get 500,000 plays if you're an independent artist living in St. John's. I mean, it just don't happen that way. There's methods to all of that. There's playlist promoters that actually take this music, shuffle it around to curators, which are the people that create these playlists, that have 10,000, 20,000 followers. So if we're able to pitch to someone who has 20,000 followers on a playlist, then you're automatically going to get, you'll get 500, 800 plays a day from this. But they got to like the music. It doesn't just, you don't just pay someone to shove it in someone's face and kind of just put it on their playlist. It doesn't work like that. There's all kinds of theories around all that kind of stuff, but that's totally different topic. But getting back to what it's been like pandemic wise for me, I mean, I've been on global TV, CTV, all these networks that again would normally want you to kind of travel up there, and I wouldn't be on a Zoom meeting singing Long Time Comin from my basement. I'd be there for a live show, and one of these days I'll get to that. But I've been able to work a full-time job, have an 8-year-old daughter, and not miss a beat. So for me, it's been beneficial in that sense. But the other sense, live playing, obviously, I love to play live. I love to get other people's reactions to my music and whatever else. And I felt I've missed that mightily over the past year and a half. But I'm gonna get out. I've got a show coming up now, June 4th, and I really can't wait to get those tunes out. The last time myself and the band would have played would have been the CD release back in October. So I'm just really excited for that. And, I can't wait to just start regularly getting back on the stage and doing what I love, man.
Yeah, it's funny, it's kind of been a running theme with this podcast and people who I've chatted with. I've obviously COVID is funny because it provides topics to talk about in a weird way. But I mean, everybody I've asked, don't get me wrong, this virus and this pandemic has had some negative effects on people, but there's been so many people who have found the bright side in this thing. Like, I mean, it's almost been like a hard reset. I mean, I wouldn't be doing this podcast if it wasn't for this. I'll guarantee it. I wouldn't have had the time to dig into it and actually get it up and running. You know what I mean? I just would have been too busy. So it's been really fun to see and to hear the positive sides that people have had. And like you say, I mean, it cuts down so many barriers, like to be able to do those things from your home, to be able to meet people and not have to leave to go do it for the sake of a shot in the dark. I mean, it's a lot easier to take a shot in the dark from the basement than it is to fly across the country. You know what I mean?
You absolutely said it, man. And again, it goes back to, all of these, even the like the Canadian Music Week is this week. And they're all virtual. So you get the people. So basically, what they do during Canadian Music Week is what they've done this year is basically put you in a room with 1,000 other people, and they just randomly put you in a room with someone else. So they keep spitting it off. That's all done virtually. Like, you don't get to do that in a real setting. So, I mean, I met an artist from Montreal, and we talked about radio tracking and who we're using for radio tracking, whatever else, an indie pop artist out of Montreal. I found her out. I discovered her music, and I absolutely love her music. Saved her on Spotify. You get to just meet people so randomly in what they have set up. Not only that, but you can set up appointments with industry guys. The president of SOCAN was taking these meet and greet meetings. That doesn't really get done virtually if we don't have a pandemic. So just things like that. I'm an in-person kind of, go to EC. Like, I had planned on going to ECMAs. I couldn't wait for that. It was my first ECMAs. Couldn't wait. I was going up with Nick and Dan and all the guys from here. I had a showcase in mind and whatever else. But I mean, again, it's not the worst thing in the world because they're still being able to hold this stuff virtually. So technology has come a long way too in the past number of years. It's just being used mightily in times like these, and I can appreciate that because I'm an IT guy. So I know how that stuff works. It's hard to promote technology when you don't really need to use it. But now we're in a time of desperation. We need to use technology, and we have to be creative when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I've performed at Canadian Music Week. I took a band to Canadian Music Week, and listen, man, I went up and played a couple shows. It was great. It was all fine and dandy, but I mean, I played a couple bar shows. I didn't really get to meet a whole lot of people because it was late nights. I flew a band up there out of my pocket. We stayed a place up there. It was an expensive endeavor. At the time I was only young too. I feel like I could make a lot better use out of it now. I kind of looked at it as a trip to Toronto with the boys for a laugh for a couple shows. Just the expense costs alone, you know what I mean? It's such a different ball game to be able to present those performances online. Justin, you mentioned it just a couple minutes ago. You got a big show coming up. Why don't you let everybody know, we'll do a little promo shot on your show and who you got playing with you in the band, who's opening up, where's it to, where can we get tickets? Fill us in.
Yeah, for sure, man. June 4th. So it's on a Friday. I wanted to put out a show before the summer really hit because I know what it's like for live shows and stuff, in the summertime. Unless you're on a deck somewhere, it's hard to promote nighttime shows when it comes, in the summer or whatever else. But so we wanted to put this off, and I wanted to do it in the safest way possible. So I had contacted the Bella Vista, and they have special clearance for 160 people guests. I was actually at a show last week, Mike Lynch, and man, is he ever funny.
I ran into Mike Sunday night. He was at Greensleeves at my gig, man, I was just laughing at him. He's so funny. Actually, I was talking to him yesterday. He wrote me and said, "Hey, man, great job at Greensleeves." And I said, "Man, you're next up on the podcast. I got to get you on for a chat." So,
oh my God!
So Mike Lynch is an incoming guest. But yeah, sorry. Get back to the show, please.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. No, so good. So I actually went to check the place out just to make sure that everything is everything's copacetic for when I get my guests in or whatever else. I didn't want any kind of awkwardness with the COVID and everything on the go. They have such a great setup there. They have tables set up, so and they actually deliver you your drinks or whatever. They have waitresses going around. Really cool setup. So that's again Friday, June 4th.
It's like kind of cabaret style at the Bella Vista.
It is so. It's really cool actually. And it's too bad obviously you can't get up and dance and whatever else. But there's I think there's some sort of intimacy with the table setting as well. It gets people watching and listening instead of dancing around, falling around, getting drunk or whatever else. That's just my opinion on that. It's more of an intimate setting for me, which is what I enjoy. The CD release went really well. So yeah, tickets, and Steady Entertainment is running this event for me again. The boys out of Corner Brook. Such great guys, Dustin Parsons and his crew. I'm getting Justin in here to kind of do the intros and introduce the show and whatever else. 16-year-old Paige Penny is going to open up for me, and man, I banged into her on a live show online on Dave Woods, In the Country with Dave Woods, and I listened to a few of her tunes, and man, is she ever talented. So I had reached out to her mom's her manager, and I reached out to her to get her involved in this. I think you're in for a treat with this young girl, and I just can't wait to get up with the band. Obviously, some all-stars in the band. I'm involved with. I just these guys are so dedicated to my craft. It's incredible. Nick Earl playing guitar. He just released a new song, Queen of the Night. I think we're going to play that one at the show. Can't wait for that. Chris Ryan, obviously veteran in the music scene. Dan George, Cody Stacy, Greg Walsh, Masterless Men, played for years. He's such a great guy and instrumentalist. He's going to play fiddle, banjo, and mandolin again, running through. We got a couple of cover songs I'm going to throw in there as well, because this is something else, other than a CD release now. I'm going to focus on a few more tunes and some new tunes as well. So I really can't wait for that. justinfancy.eventbrite.ca, brite.ca. And those tickets, don't let the price fool you when you log in. It's fooled a lot of people. It's like, oh my God, this is so expensive, but it's based on table. So there's a table of 2, 4, 6, and 8. I think the 8s are sold out now, but I think there's 40 seats or something left for the show. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Cool, man. Yeah, no, I bet that's going to be a great show. So, if anybody's listening, that's June 4th at the Bella Vista. So make sure you do check out Justin online and get out to that show and get out and support local music, because it, definitely means more now than it ever did. And like you mentioned, it's a nice sit down event. And you nailed it when you said there's a different side to playing to a sit down crowd. You love having people up dancing and making sure everybody's having a good time. Yeah. But I found the same thing. We did our annual Tibbs Eve show at the Rock House, which is always the biggest shit show of the century. Every single year, man, it is the biggest piss fest. Like it's, you got 280 people from Mount Pearl crammed into the Rock House, and they all haven't seen each other in 8 months, and they're falling all over each other. And it's a great time. It's a big party. Don't get me wrong. But this year, it was seated, and it was like, wow, I actually got to tell a few stories before the songs, explain the songs a little bit and introduce the band without just banging out bangers as hard and fast as you possibly can, just to make sure everybody's still moving. So you're right. You got it there, and it's going to be a great show. So, for anybody listening, make sure you do get out and check out that show, because, great opening act, great band, and going to be a great night, definitely at the Bella Vista. Have you been watching any NHL playoffs?
Oh man, you got to be kidding me. Of course I am. Of course I am.
So we're recording here today. It's Tuesday, May 25th. Originally, I had actually, we were planning on recording yesterday at around 6:30 or 7. And, I did a few things online yesterday, and I was like, you know what? I think I'd like to wait till tomorrow so we can maybe have a little chat about the game last night and kind of what's going on. So, what did you think of the game last night and the series as a whole so far?
It's been such a great series, man. It's been so great to watch, and I don't think either team is really standing out, or I think it's very evenly matched. I think the Leafs have more talent, but they're able to shut it down. I mean, you just look at Winnipeg and the Oilers, and what Winnipeg just done to the Oilers. I mean, what really? Like, shut Connor McDavid down for four games. It's just amazing.
What was the payout on $100 jet sweep? I wonder.
Oh, man,
I don't think anybody was predicting that, man. I think I was reading somewhere it was like 32-1 or something like that.
Crazy,
so I mean,
right? Crazy.
Some big money.
Toronto's depth, just going back to the Leafs there. I mean, Toronto's depth and veterans on the team. I mean, you look at Spezza and the series he's having a great series. I mean, Thornton, he's out there, he's slow and he's old, but I mean, he's doing a lot for the team.
He looked sluggish last night, man. I'm not going to lie to you. He looked sluggish last night. I did not like him on that top line power play last night. That was my only downfall of everything that was going on. I don't understand why they have the slowest man on the team. And I mean, I can only imagine what Joe Thornton brings to the dressing room, brings to the locker room, brings to the presence of his team, and to mentor these young kids who are, trying to make something out of nothing. You know what I mean? He definitely brings that. But to have him on a top line power play, excuse me, was an interesting choice, I think. But
I agree. I think Thornton. I mean, they have him out there to get set up and get him to kind of run that run those plays, right? And obviously he's done that for so long, right? But I agree with you 100%. I was like, what? There's so much more young talent on that team.
Explosiveness,
Fast,
you know?
explosive. Absolutely. That's the exact word for it. Yeah.
The goaltending has been, I was skeptical. I mean, goaltending
Crazy.
in Leafland is always scary. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You're like, especially this year, you know, we got Freddie Anderson. He goes down. We put in Jack Campbell, who has, like, you know, a handful of career starts in his life. I mean, he's not old, but he's not a young man by any means. You know what I mean? He's been around. He's been a backup for a number of years, and he comes out, goes 17-3, has a couple rough losses at the beginning of the year. It looks like his confidence is shot. You're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? They go and sign David Riddick. He gets lit up first couple of games. You got Michael Hutchison coming in. We're like, are we really into our fourth string goalie with this team, man? I'm like, oh my God.
Here we go again, right?
Anyways, Campbell's look great, I gotta say. I mean, we got Anderson back. He's behind. He's backing up Campbell right now. It's Campbell's net to lose. One really crazy thing that has shocked me. Not shocked me at all, but has been Carey Price. I mean, Carey Price has had he's had an up and down season. He's had a rough season, mediocre season. But man, he looks like Carey Price again right now. That save last night, man, on Spezza. He dove across with the stick. Like, that's vintage. Vintage Carey Price right there.
Multiple. I mean, it was multiple times last night where I went just wow. I remember there was one play there. Marner peppered him. He must have had 5 shots on him, and he just bang, 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 reacted to it, and he just did classic Carey Price. I mean, it's amazing. And like you said, he's had an up and down season. There's been times where Montreal fans were hard on him and whatever else. I know a lot of Habs fans are disappointed, this morning because of Carey Price's performance. I mean, it's a 2-1 game and the Habs just can't put the puck in the net. I mean, it must be disappointing, and it's been that way. It's been a common trend for a while. But they have to be pleased with Montreal's play so far, shutting down these guys. I mean, we haven't got a lot of goals, and it's just so different. We said this off the top here before we began, but playoff time is so friggin' different. And whatever it is more of a defensive mindset or whatever it is. Goalies get hot, whatever it is, I don't know. But I mean, from what I've seen over the years in the playoffs, I mean, any team has a chance if they can get on a roll, if they can get a few wins and get a bit of momentum and whatever else. I mean, there's series can go either way. I mean, and it doesn't matter if you're 8 or you're 1 or if you're seated, to top to the bottom. It seems like it doesn't really matter when it comes to the playoffs, right? Different game altogether.
Yeah, no, it has been absolutely. And a lot of good teams down south of the border, man. I'm telling you, Colorado Avalanche, they're looking like a wagon. Boston, I know he got injured. I seen in Game 4, but hopefully it's not too serious. But I mean, nice to see him pot that first goal. You know what I mean? They're unreal. Boston are always scary, man. They just rolled the Caps in 4. Rolled the Caps in 4. I mean, the Winnipeg Jets, man. I'm so shocked that they just rolled over the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, Connor McDavid must be just so shook at this point. I can't even imagine. You could see the frustration on his face last night, as you would imagine. But I think going to be another great game tonight. Leafs and Habs tonight. I mean, obviously tonight's Tuesday for folks listening, so you'll have the results by the time you're listening to this. But I'm looking forward to tonight. Not gonna lie, I think it's going to be another great game, very pivotal game back in Montreal. But been a great playoffs and very exciting to watch. I mean, a lot of close games, overtime games, and the only thing that the North is missing, man, is the fans. I can't imagine if the Scotiabank Center was full for those games or in Montreal and same with out in Winnipeg, man. Like, those fans are crazy. You know what I mean? So it would have been, can you imagine a 4-game sweep last night in Winnipeg with fans in the building in triple overtime?
It's absolutely. Oh man, I can't imagine.
Yeah,
I watched the PGA the weekend PGA Championship.
Man, that was something else too, man. Phil Mickelson, 50 years old.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Just crazy. I mean, obviously the guy still got it. And man, just so long since his last major too. It's just came out of nowhere, right? But he had said that he was getting better and better and better. And he said, I'm close, really close. He's bombing the ball 350, 360 yards.
I know. It's
50
incredible.
Years old. 50 years old. That's unbelievable.
Did you see this clip going around on Twitter by any chance? Brooks Koepka with DeChambeau?
Bryson walked by him.
Oh man.
And you know what? Listen, I love golf. I love to watch golf. I'm watching golf all the friggin' time. There's one guy that drives me nuts, and it's Bryson DeChambeau. And listen, I have all the respect for him in the world, but I mean, the stuff that he gets on with, and he started, all the guys were calling, I think Kepka called him out before for being so slow, right? When he started this new technical swing, he was getting up and he was taking like 5 minutes to hit the ball, and Kepka called him out one day. Or whatever.
Kepka hates him, man. It's so
he
funny.
Hates him, right?
Golf beef is wicked. Yeah.
And he walked by him, and all I can think of was Bryson was talking numbers or some kind of calculation to his caddy, right?
No, you know what it was? Apparently, what it was, it's the Bryson wears metal cleats. He has metal spikes in his shoes, and apparently that's like, if for golfers who don't wear metal spikes in their cleats,
it's irritating.
They hate that. So when they're walking on the pavement, it's crunch, crunch, crunch.
That's what it was.
He was in the middle of a live bit, right, with Golf TV or whatever it was, Golf Channel, and he comes crunching by, and obviously, has pure disdain for this guy anyway. So I thought that was so comical, man. Yeah, it was awesome.
It was the funniest thing, and the reporter was there too. I can't remember his name now, but he was
he was roaring. He's just like, man, you just gave us the best piece, and hilariously enough that he leaked that. Someone leaked that, because that probably should should have never, because Kepka is cursing and swearing and fucking this, fuck, it probably shouldn't have got out. But anyways, it's going to be another great weekend of hockey, no doubt, man. And I know you got your big show coming up, and I know there's a lot of fans looking forward to that. I'm sure you guys and the band is all looking forward to that as well. So best of luck with the show. I mean, I really appreciate you coming on, taking the time today to come on. Justin, if you can just let everybody know where they can find you online, just feed it to us. Where can we get some Justin Fancy?
Yeah, right on. So I tell everybody, justinfancymusic.ca. There you're going to find, tour dates, merch, all my social media is linked to there. So that's pretty much the one-stop shop for everything. I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Justin Fancy Music as well, if you want to add me there. And I try to keep everything online. I'm really active on Instagram, and I try to keep fans updated with everything that's going on, and whatever else. And so justinfancymusic.ca.
Right on, man. Well, best of luck with everything, coming up in the summer, and hopefully you can get out and do a few more live shows. Best of luck with the gig next weekend. And I, really appreciate taking the time today, man. I know you're a busy man, and it's great catching up with you.
Really appreciate it, Dave. I know I mentioned a while back, I couldn't wait to get on the show. I'm following the podcast. Drives the woman nuts sometimes when I'm in the truck with it all going on and I'm laughing and carrying on. Yeah, such a great thing you're doing, man. And just a pleasure to be on, and I'll continue to follow you. No sweat there.
Thanks, man. I think one thing that the listeners are going to be happy with is that I'm probably not going to have to go into too much in-depth NHL analysis in my intro this week, because I think we just covered it. So, best of luck, Justin, and I appreciate it again, man. We'll catch up with you soon, okay?
Right now, buddy. Take care.
All right, cheers. Huge thanks to Justin Fancy for coming on. Really appreciate him taking the time to come on and have a chat. He's a busy dude. There's no doubt about that. He's got a lot on the go, but it was nice to make some time for me. And I was a guest on his podcast as well a few months back, and just nice to have him on to chat and really pick his brain on the writing processes and the recording processes, especially during the pandemic, and just even being able to talk about writing these songs. Like I said in the interview, I mean, it's tough to write songs from your heart, about actual events or people when you're from a small town, because people want to know the dirt, man. People want to know what you're talking about, and it's just difficult, especially if you're kind of sheltered or you don't want to talk about it. You just, it's tough. So, I mean, it was nice to hear Justin open up about that, I got to say. So, big thanks to Justin for coming on there. Yeah, not much else on the go, guys. I mentioned obviously earlier on the podcast that back this weekend at O'Reilly's doing a couple of gigs with Robert and Zach this weekend, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Still looking to pick up a sponsor. I mean, if you want to sponsor my podcast, let's work out a deal and try to come up with something. Kind of considering maybe taking a few weeks off here in the summer as it starts to pick up musically, and I know everybody's got some busy schedules, so we'll see what happens with that. I mean, got a lot of guests lined up, so I'm not sure if we're going to keep it rolling through the summer, and maybe maybe take a little while off and come back in the fall, but we'll see what happens. Really been enjoying doing them, and big thanks to everybody for all the feedback and all that stuff. So you know where to find me, guys. You want to follow me on all my social media channels at Dave Whitty on Instagram and Facebook, on Twitter as well. I've been tweeting a lot lately, really giving some hot takes on some sporting stuff. So if you're interested in follow along, you know how to find me at Dave Whitty. That about does for me. Make sure you do subscribe and like my YouTube page, guys. That's where I'm putting up a lot of content all the time. So that about does it for me from downtown St. John's, Newfoundland. I'm Dave Whitty. Peace.